Hello, folks. My name is Travis, and welcome to this edition of Hope on Wheels. In this edition of Hope on Wheels, I'm going to start a series of videos on the same topic. And that topic is if you are disabled, how can you get a dog of your own if you live, frankly, in an apartment or in an assisted living situation? And be able to take care of it yourself and deal with everything that may arise. It, as I was saying just a minute ago, this topic is going to be broken up into several videos because there's a lot of information in relation to this that I have experienced over the years of me having my own dog. So, without further ado, here we go. The beginning part of this video is going to be about things you need to consider before you get a dog, to be specific. The first thing I'm going to say to anyone is if you don't have a guardian and you're your own guardian, this first thing that I'm going to mention is not going to matter to you. But if you don't have a guardian, or excuse me, if you do have a guardian, if your guardian would love for you to have a dog, great. If you um, if your guardian doesn't want you to have a dog, then you have to convince the guardian of that. And that's really up to you. But the first thing you need to consider for yourself, especially if you're physically disabled, and believe me, this crossed my mind when I got my dog, who I had for 6.5 to 7 years. I say had because she just recently passed away last month. But the first thing you need to consider is what type of dog do you want to have. And when I say type, I'm not talking breed, folks. I'm talking, do you want a pet dog or do you want a dog that can help you be more independent? I say that because there are a couple of major things that you need to consider. If you're getting a pet dog, there are things that you won't have to do versus if you're getting a dog that is a service dog. If you're getting a dog that is a service dog, you are going to have to, meaning you, the individual that has the dog, not anyone else, have to keep that dog's mind sharp, have to constantly work with it so that it doesn't lose its training. Because otherwise, no matter how you go about getting the dog, eventually the dog will become unable to do what it's been trained to do. And if you were to get it through a program like, let's say, the service dog program that I know exists in California, where you can actually get a service dog, which takes a long time. Every year, once a year, they come and they'll check on the dog. And if the people that are from that company find that you are not keeping up with the dog's skills, they do have the right to take the dog back because the dogs that come out of that program are worth thousands of dollars, and that means a lot of hours of training, time, and effort. And it's just not that feasible to be doing that without them knowing that the dog is being used the way that they were trained to be used. Now, if you're getting a dog that is just a pet, you don't need to worry about all the time and effort that's going to go into that. But that's my argument. Are you? That leads me into saying the first thing you need to consider, whether doesn't matter which type of dog you're getting, whether it be just a pet or a service dog? Are you really willing to put in all the time it takes to take care of the dog? It doesn't matter how, just are you willing to do that? Because having a dog, folks, is like having a child. Okay? Literally, it's like having a another family member, and you're raising this child. And it takes a lot of time and effort. It really does. I mean, I spent a lot of time with Xena. Xena was a in the house dog with me, and she was also certified as a service dog. But besides that, she was family. She was family to me. I mean, her needs came before my own, and you need to decide before you get a dog, are you willing to put that dog's needs first? Because a dog isn't like a human, and they're not going to tell you whether they hurt or not. They're not going to tell you whether they're, um, you know, in such a way that they need to go to the vet. You kind of have to make those decisions based on spending time with the dog. But with that comes expenses and stuff like that that come up, you know, and it gets um, so expensive at times that it can be hard to deal with. I'm going to talk about expenses and stuff in another video, but my point is anytime something comes up with that dog, whether it be medical, physical, whatever, playtime, whatever, you have to put the dog first because the dog is bonded to you, especially when you're in a wheelchair. The dog becomes bonded to you once it learns, whether it be a regular pet dog or otherwise. The dog is going to become bonded to you, and you have to be willing to put that dog's needs first. Now, another thing that you have to consider, depending upon where you live, is one, does the agency that provides your supports, especially if you live in a licensed facility, allow pets, first of all? If they don't, and you really want a dog, and there's a medical need for a dog that you can justify, then you can get around that through legality, such as a service dog, a legal service dog, not just a therapy dog, a service dog, okay? Because then the agencies are going to say if it's a legalized service dog and it's connected to you and you have paperwork to prove it, they're not going to be allowed by law to say no. However, don't go that route unless you legitimately need a service dog. Because I have seen it myself. There are people that say they need a service dog who don't use their dog as a service dog. They just use that as an avenue to get a dog and not have to pay the money uh, for pet deposits and stuff. So there are avenues. Just be careful that when you get a dog, you make the decision that either it's going to be a pet or it's going to be a service animal. Either one works, but you need to find out if the agency that you're with will support you having the dog. If they do, the next biggest thing that you're going to have to consider is, other than, do you have a yard and all that stuff, which I'll cover a lot of that in the following up videos, the videos after this one. I'm not going to get into all that now because it would make the video too long. But there are things I'm going to cover throughout this series that are going to hopefully be able to help you learn how to be able to have a dog on your own and what I did to take care of mine. Hopefully I will be able to give you ideas to allow someone else to have a dog who's in a wheelchair, for example. But one of the biggest things I can't stress enough, especially if you lived in a licensed home like I do, You have to have support staff that are willing to help you with a dog to some extent, because you're going to have some things that you are going to need help with. And there's no way around that. There are some things that you're going to need to have help with doing to take care of your dog. Whether you want to do it by yourself or not, you're going to run into those problems. That being said, if you don't have people in your life that are willing to help support you, whether they be staff or natural supports, or a combination of both, which is what I recommend, you're it's not worth doing, folks, because I'll give you a real quick example. I've been through trying to get a dog 3 times. Xena was the success story for me. I had Xena for 6.5 to 7 years, but I got her after moving to Anchorage. Why? Because at the time, the agency I lived with was supportive in Fairbanks of me having a dog. However, the staff that supported me didn't want the dog around. It caused a lot of issues, and when I needed help to take care of the dog, they weren't willing to do it at all. Doesn't matter how simple the issue was, they weren't willing to assist. And at the time, I wasn't able to do as much for myself as I am now. You're going to run into that. There are people that are going to love dogs, and there are people that are not going to love dogs. So if you don't have staff around you that are willing to support you, your immediate step after making this decision is making sure, and I would suggest getting your support team, your care coordinator, your staff, your guardian if you have one, all of them together and saying, this is what I want to do. Do you all agree? And if everybody but your staff says, let's do it, then the next step is going to be finding out why your staff doesn't want it. Now, if it's just because your staff is allergic to dogs, there might be a simple way around that. You might be able to say, well, I really want a dog and I really want to move forward with this goal, which is a person-directed life, which is what I've been encouraging ever since I started this channel. But if that's what you want and that's the issue, then the agency might be willing to help you find out who they could staff you with that would still give you the help, but who's not allergic to dogs. Or if it's they're not allergic, and the staff just doesn't want anything to do with this, then you really need your support team to help you figure out how are you going to take care of the things that you know physically you can't do without help. Give you an example: taking the dog to the vet. Unless it's a service dog, you can't take it on the bus, for example. So you're going to need somebody to help you get the dog to the vet. You don't have to go. There are some vets in Alaska that will let you bring the dog in via a friend, and the vet will call you, and you just pay for the stuff over the phone, but you still are going to need a way to get the dog to the vet. I'm just using that as an example. You need to have staff or a guaranteed support system around you before you get the dog, because you will run into things, I guarantee it, because I did, that you're always going to need staff support in order to pull off. There's no way around it. So that is your biggest thing. Get your support team around you once you make this decision. Make sure that everybody's on board with it, and then once they are, you need to decide as a group that this is going to be a goal. You're going to get a dog. Everybody has to support you in it, and then you move forward from there. But the biggest thing, and I cannot stress this enough, folks, with all of this, and this was the big point of this video, is you have to initially have the support of the support team around you. But you absolutely have to have support staff around you, especially if you live in a licensed location that will support you when you get the dog. Now, the only other thing you need to consider before that is, do you want this dog just as a pet to give you some way to have some activity and socialization, or are you looking to get a service dog that can help you with some of your physical needs to make you more independent? I say that because the circumstances behind that and how an agency can react is different. But if you know that before you go into the support team meeting, that is something that will be helpful. Xena, when I first got her, was not a service dog. She was a shelter dog that I trained up to be a service dog, which was the overall goal when I got Xena, because at the time I was not able to be as independent as I am now because of the technology that I had, and I needed more help. Well, a dog was able to give me a lot of the help I needed without having to get staff to always help me. If you're wanting a dog just to have a pet in your life, that's fine, folks. I still encourage it, but those are things you're going to need to figure out before you go to your support team with this. And then once you go to the support team, one of the things that they'll ask you is, are you looking for a service dog or are you looking for a pet? And then the team needs to be on board with it. And once they get on board, you're going to run into things that I can't, excuse me, uh, that I can't guarantee I'm going to have all the answers for. But as long as your support team is on board, if they run into a problem that they're concerned about, that's where your team can help you figure that out. But if you don't have the support of your team and of your staff, getting a dog is not a good idea, because I guarantee, and I can't stress it enough because it happens more often than not, you're going to run into things where you're going to need help taking care of the dog. Not because you want the help. You may want to be very independent with taking care of your dog, but there are things that you will always need help in doing. So that's the first step, folks. Make sure that you have proper support for the things that you won't be able to figure out how to do on your own, or that your support team, such as your care coordinator, the supervisor at home, whoever, can help you say, well, what about this? And if these are things that they know you will not be able to do on your own, and you know that you probably won't be able to figure out how, or if you got to take the dog to the vet, who's going to help you with that? And I'm not talking about financially. I'm just talking about getting the dog there. If you don't have those kind of supports kind of described and laid out before you get the dog, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're going to fail. Because I guarantee you, it's better to have those things lined up beforehand than after you get the dog. Because it really becomes a problem if you get the dog first and then you find out that the staff doesn't want to help you at all with the dog. Because then you run into a problem of, okay, what do I do now? How do I get the dog to the vet? Because my mom's, elderly, she's in her 60s, 70s, whatever, or my brother's not around, or my sister's not around, and even if they were, they wouldn't help me. Those kind of scenarios do happen. I've run into friends that have had that issue. So you really have to talk as a team with your support team before you even get a dog, and make sure that the agency and the staff that supports you on a daily basis are willing to help you. And then for the areas that they can't help you, see if you can figure out with your support team natural support options to get the issues dealt with before you get the dog. Because if you get the dog first and then you try to figure out who's going to help you with those supports. You're going to There's going to become an instant where the dog is going to really need something. You're not going to be able to do it without help, and you're not going to have it because it's not lined up. Now, that's not to say that there won't be emergencies where even the people that agree to help you won't be available and you'll have to figure something else out. But you at least want to have some idea of what you can do in certain situations in your mind before you get the dog. And you want to make sure that the people that are around you that support you are willing to help you take care of the dog if you need it, or have other options, because if you don't, you'll get into situations where you won't know what to do. I don't want to make this video too much longer. I hope you understand why I'm stressing the first thing you need to figure out is, do you have the proper supports around you? In the next video, we'll talk about some more topics, such as, once you figure all that out, what are your next steps? What are ways that you can get a dog? How did I do that? What did I do? What was the most affordable? And some other things to consider. But like I said, the main point of this video is you have to make sure you've got the proper supports around you and people that are willing to help you before you even get a dog. Forget the money aspects and everything else. If you don't have the proper supports, it's not a good idea. So, I'm going to end the video right there. I hope this video gives you some thoughts on what you can consider. Take care, folks, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless.